Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out probatemastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit probatemastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content. Right. Let's go ahead and get kicked off. I am a couple of minutes late getting in here. We were Chad Corbett and I were having a conversation on the back end, and as usual, we lost track of time. So, thanks, folks, for coming in. Just want to kind of encourage those of you that are here, that are doing the work, to keep doing the work. I want to hear from several of you today. Hopefully, I've got some success stories or some questions. If you are new here, we do this every Tuesday. It's currently 2 o'clock, 2:03 actually, Eastern time, 11 o'clock Pacific time. So every single Tuesday at this time, we are live. So if you've never been here, or potentially you're listening on a podcast channel or YouTube or something like that, you guys are invited to come over and join live and ask your questions, share your success stories, things like that. If you are experienced here, you guys know the drill. So what we're going to do is have those of you with stories or questions go to the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. So to do that, drop down to the bottom of your Zoom window and click the React button. And then there's a bar that says raise hand. I'll see you. I'll call on you. We'll have a conversation. And I actually have Frankie up first. 1 second, Frankie. Go ahead, unmute yourself, and let me know what you have.
Okay. Hi, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So based upon our call, the training we did last week, I did go down to the probate courthouse, Franklin County, here in Columbus, Ohio. I was able to have a brief conversation with the front desk administrator. It was quite a few people there, so I only got to ask a few questions. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask her was how could we obtain records for Franklin County? And she just said, like, they're literally free of charge. Like, we would just go, like, if we know of the decedent or someone that passed away, you would just email the administrator. They have a records room, and they literally send you all the information.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty awesome. She also gave me a little bit of education about transfer on death. She said that the courthouse, they have administrators that actually go to different senior living communities here in Columbus to help senior citizens learn how to avoid probate. So I didn't get to ask her, but I was hoping to maybe ask her if I could tag along, but I'm going to call to see if I would be able to tag along with that, because I actually have my SRES and CAPS designation. So that was good. She gave me her business card. She gave me a website that I needed to go to learn more about the probate process and how to email, like the form of how it should be structured when I send an email requesting for a case. And also some paperwork. But it all in all, I was talking to her maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and it was a good conversation. I did ask her if I could go in and sit at the probate to listen to a couple hearings, and Franklin County have actually moved all their probate hearings online to Zoom. So that's not even an option really anymore. So but it was a good call. It was good.
I've seen that in a couple of cases where the hearings are on Zoom. So that happens. If they're private, they're not going to necessarily want you in, but that is really good. I'm curious how you opened the conversation. So how did you end up getting her to be so forthcoming with you?
So I just introduced myself. I didn't introduce myself as a realtor. I did tell her that I was coming in from, my business name is 360 Homes. and I was called just coming in to drop in just to ask a few questions to learn about the probate process. And
Hmm.
she took the time to answer. And later on, I would say a few minutes later in the conversation, I did announce that I was a realtor, and she
Yeah.
said that that's good because there are um, that's when we went to the senior living and saying that they go out to the different communities. So it was all us, really a good conversation. I did ask about attorneys. How do I network with attorneys? And she said that that will probably be a hard one, but just taking cue from what you've taught, Bruce, I do have an idea of how I want to start researching and looking for attorneys to call. So
Sure. Yep.
it was
I love
good.
it. Well, good job. Good job. I think that that's an amazing step. I've had several people who've come back and reported that they had a little bit of trouble at the clerk's office. And so that's why I asked how you approached the conversation. I think that that's perfect. So for anyone that's thinking about doing this, take a cue from what Frankie did, how she opened the dialogue. Um, Generally, what I do if I'm going to the courthouse is, hey, I may mention being in the real estate space, and I've had a handful of clients recently that needed to file probate. I've been putting this off. I always tell a story. If I'm approaching an attorney, I tell a little bit of a story. If I'm approaching a clerk or a judge or something like that, I tell a little bit of a story. So normally my story is something along the lines of I had a handful of clients that have been needed to start the probate process, and I've mentioned or been meaning to come down here and kind of understand the process a little bit myself so that I could help a little bit more the next time it happens. And clerks love that. If you go in and go, hey, I'm a probate expert and I want to come in here and see if I can get the names of all the people that have filed probate, while that's legal and they can't really hold you out of the records, it may not sit right with one clerk or another, and they might give you some resistance. So the way that Frankie did it is just really good. Kudos, Frankie. Thank you so much for going down there and sharing the story. Did you have any follow-up questions or anything? Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, that was it. That was
Good.
it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Let's go to David Cordero, who David and I are hopefully closing a real estate deal in the next couple of days that originated from probate. He was kind enough to refer me because I do still actively sell real estate from time to time. So, David, number one, publicly, thanks for the referral. Hopefully, we've got a closing in a couple of days. What's going on?
Hey, Bruce. Well, I
Hey,
think we will have a closing in a few days. It's just
good.
we're on the edge of our seat because we're on the 99-yard line and we're just waiting on some final court document to be
Yeah,
recorded. So it's like pins and needles because this is the longest yard, right, in the
yeah,
history
yeah.
of football.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so that's a bummer, but it's okay. I think we're going to close. I had a question and was wondering if you had any insight. So I have an escrow, and initially it's a probate. So initially I was told by the executor, yeah, in just 1 month we're going to have our letters and we're ready to go. It's like, oh, great, this is wonderful. Let's just do this. Called the attorney. The attorney says, yeah, in just 1 month we're going to have our letters. We're ready to go. I said, oh, great. Is it a formal or informal probate? He says, oh, it's formal. Oh, wonderful. Yep. Just need to get that court date and they're going to give us the letters and we're ready to go. Oh, wonderful. So then a couple days before the court date, I call the attorney and he goes, oh, geez, I made a mistake, or the court made a mistake. They wrote the wrong year on the court date. It was last year instead of this year. And I was like, really? That's crazy. So I end up calling the judge and I said, hey, the judge's quarters. I said, hey, can you do us a favor? can you, my sellers are on pins and needles. They really need to sell this house for many reasons, and they really don't have money to pay for, HOA fees and taxes for the next however many years, and they've already been paying for 2 years. Is there any way we can bump up the court date? And they said, oh yeah, no problem. Just have the judge fill out this one paper and we're gonna redo the court date and you can come in and just finish it up. I said, oh great. So then I'm only sharing the story so that way you have full context.
Yeah.
So then I called the judge again. I mean the attorney again, and he goes, oh darn, I'm gonna get that paper right away. And then click. And then I called him again. He said, oh, yeah, by tomorrow, I'm going to have that. And then click. And then we look, no paper, no communication. And he just totally ghosted us. I haven't spoken to him for like a week or two.
By us, this
Me,
is
me
including your client, right?
including my client.
Okay.
Both.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that he and the client weren't having conversations on the back end going, this David guy, he's just a pushy jerk. Okay. But he's
Maybe, but
ghosting them too.
I don't think so. I thought so too. But so she owed him $800, I found out. So then I also called and left messages, said, "Hey, we'll take care of the 800 bucks.
Mhm.
Let's just get it going and we'll take care of that."
Small firm, large firm, solo practitioner. What are we dealing with?
Solo practitioner.
Solo. Okay. All right. I've had solos that get a little overwhelmed. In some cases, so the solo practitioner that I had that got a little bit overwhelmed was also getting a lot of court assignments, guardianship, elder law, probate, a lot of court assignments, along with the private practice business that was coming in organically, and she got really swamped. And what I did is said, "Hey, um, could I be your gopher?" So if there's things that need to be filled out, dropped off, filed, you're having trouble getting anything signed, use me. Let me know. Is there anything that I could get signed, notarized, or dropped off for you? Now,
Nice.
we need that in our schedule, like we need a hole in the head. It's in some cases we don't have the time, but I would approach it like, hey, treat me like you're a paralegal or your assistant. Is there anything that you need to have signed for you? And that particular approach with one attorney led to a number of great referrals for me for a few years. So um, you might want to try that.
Sure.
Yeah. See if you can get the attorney back on the phone. They may have gotten sick, or I mean, sometimes people ghost you for a pretty good reason. I've been
Yeah,
ghosted by people who died. I mean, so sometimes there's a reason. I would imagine this is just an overwhelmed attorney that needs a little bit of help.
got it.
Yeah. Uh, Interesting. All
Nice.
right. What else, man?
Uh, I mean, I think that's it. We're working on this escrow here. Nope, I have another probate also
Hmm.
that hopefully is going to be an escrow this week.
Yep.
It seems a lot easier. The attorney's really top notch. I realize it's hard to find really good attorneys. I mean, I shouldn't say that publicly, but it just seems that way.
Yeah.
But this one's a really good attorney. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we're supposed to have the letters February 7th, and we'll be in escrow, and hopefully we close shortly thereafter. So that's
So
good
here's
news.
a good question for you. I hate to put you on the spot. I don't know this answer.
Sure.
What's your pipeline look like?
Pretty good this year so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have 13 listings so far this year
Hmm.
in January. I think let's see here, about half are probate.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
so
then
yeah.
next 6 months, how many people are on your pipeline list? Ballpark, if it's not
Now
in front
my
of you.
my 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 pipeline list apart from my actual listings is a whole nother ball game.
Mhm.
I think right now I have 80 really warm leads that I think I'm going to close this year.
Are most of those probate?
Uh, about 70%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good
And then
stuff.
and I'm hoping to close all 80.
Yeah.
Then I have and
Well,
that's my goal.
here's
So
what
we'll
I'm
see.
hoping. Okay. It is January 21st. Um, I am hoping that by the time you get to the end of March, that list is 130 deep. Okay. So
Me
you're
too.
assuming that you're not going to add anyone to your pipeline right now, and that's certainly not likely unless you just quit prospecting.
No, no, I mean I have a lot more that are in my pipeline. Those are 80 really warm leads.
Yeah.
So this is and then in my pipeline outside, I think I have like well, this is including the 80 because I moved the 80 to a different list. So including
Hmm.
the 80, I'm like around two something of people that I know that are going to sell.
Yep.
And then so all of December, I was just working on my back end and systems
Hmm.
to try to be able to handle this amount of volume and then
Yeah.
putting people in play and training people and things like that. So I trained two new assistants, and then I have three other agents I'm working with on the other islands.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
Good stuff.
goes.
So the reason, guys, that I asked David about his pipeline is because that's what our business is really about. How often do you call and have a conversation with someone that says, "Oh, hey, stranger on the phone. Yeah, I'm selling. I want you to come list the house in 2 weeks." How often does that happen?
Not too often. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
What's the answer, Bruce?
probably not very often. Um, it more likely manifests itself as hey, stranger on the phone. Remember that. We don't know what we're going to do with the house yet. That's typically how the first conversation manifests. And if your conversations manifest differently than that, if they typically go a little bit different than that, please let me know because as a couple of people said, David's got a few things that he needs to teach us. Is that about right for the first conversation?
Not often. No. I mean, you're looking at like that happens 1 in 30, maybe.
What happens?
People say, "Hey, I'm ready to list with
Yeah,
you."
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean 1 in 30 with the warmer people.
Hmm.
And with the non-warm people, it's even less. But I mean, this is a culmination of I've been doing this now for, I don't know, 3 years.
Hmm.
So this is now probably the best jump start I've ever had. But it took me a while.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yep.
had a few early successes with the probate thing, but now I think I'm like 3, 4 years. I think I'm going on year four, year 3 to 4. So this is a culmination of a lot of patience and chipping away and just
Hmm.
being faithful.
Making adjustments, continuing to prospect.
Yeah, and learning a lot about probates and things like that. And
Hmm.
yeah, learning a lot. Yeah,
Cool.
been good. And also getting coaching from Bruce. I gotta say that that did
Well, we
help a lot.
did what three calls where we just kind of role played and tweaked and adjusted, and it took some tweaking and adjusting. I have to make adjustments to my approach all the time.
Yeah,
I bring something up to someone, and I'm like, man, that didn't go the way that I thought it would. How could I say that differently? So
yeah,
you've put that work in.
yeah.
What market are you in? I mean, I know this. Somebody asked.
Um, I'm I'm in Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah. All right. Looking to see here if there's anyone else chatted anything that was related to David. Anything else, David, you want to bring up?
No, that's it. That's my only question
I
about the
got a
attorney. That was the big one.
question from Teddy. Which prospecting do you find most effective for building your pipeline?
Boy, it's tough because I think probate's great and I use probate. But also a lot of my leads are also from referrals and really it just comes from I think just working the list and just working your systems and being consistent
Mhm.
because some of my best escrows right now and everything. Some of them are probate, and my probate business is now growing, which is great. My warm leads in probate are growing tremendously.
Mhm.
But this is the most probates I've had, and I
Yep.
think, and it's like I said, it's been 4 years. So with that, it for me, it's just working the system, and then the more calls I make and the more conversations I have, it just leads to deals. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like I'm one of the luckiest agents on planet Earth. I, I, my second deal was a guy that no one would take as a buyer, and then I ended up closing a fourplex with him, and we had to do something pretty creative. I had to get the seller to gift him 40 grand in equity to qualify. So we rolled it into the appraisal. Once we did that, that guy, come to find out, he was the senior vice president of Morgan Stanley, and he gave me 15 doors to sell after that because um, just because he said he had all these agent friends that said they'd sell his fourplex and they didn't, but I did. So then he kept rewarding me as I kept selling more of his properties and he just
Yeah.
kept handing me more and more. So I was
Hmm.
pretty lucky that way. And then a lot of my stuff, just real quick, and I'm almost done here, is just that way. Like I help someone and then they tell others. One of my last escrows was a lady that had a lot of stuff going on, and it was like a kind of a probate dish deal, and but it didn't look like I could close her deal. Like it just wasn't going to close. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to help this lady anyway, even though I'm not going to close a deal. I
Hmm.
don't even know why. I was like in a moment of just let's just be a good guy moment. And so I just started helping her with all these other things. And then she goes, "Oh my gosh, I got to repay you." She said, "I'm not, you won't be able to sell our probate house, but I'm going to buy a house and I want to use you." And then like 3 weeks later, come to find out this lady's a multimillionaire and like we're in escrow on a house and
Yeah.
it had nothing to do with the probate. So
Yeah.
I was just helping her and then it turned into an escrow. So I don't know. I think just working leads and just having conversations. And if you're just sometimes I get lucky when I just sincerely want to help people
Hmm.
and then they just turn into escrows.
Yep. I love it. That's amazing, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, I got a couple of people that are asking for your contact information. Katya wants a good listing agent in Hawaii, so put your information out to her or anyone that in the group if you want. All right, um, good deal. Let's go to Michelle. What's going on? How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Really good, really good. What is happening?
So, love probate. I've done probate for about 4 years. Interesting one that closes any day now. Just one quick side note hint for agents out there. So, even after 4 years of experience, and 2 summers ago, I did 11 for one family. Never had this one happen. Some of those were in Colorado, but this one's in Nevada. And what none of the schools, I don't think, I don't remember it being in your guys' training either. But one of the huge hints or tips is if there's any information that changes, not only get those amendments and addendums to your attorney, but make sure that it follows through to the court paperwork. There was 4 of us. So like, we were checking address and we were checking because they had the commission splits wrong and they like overpaid me by triple, which was wonderful, but not correct. And so literally by triple. And so, we made all these corrections. I made sure that, my executor's name was correct and the address was correct. And we missed one of the addendums. They had gone from offering a $8,000 seller concession to a $10,000. And even though the attorneys had it, it didn't make it. And I missed it. The executor missed it. The attorneys missed it. It was the lender on the buyer side that caught it. Thank God. But we still had to go back to court and it was still another 2-week wait over Christmas. So just as a reminder, just like make sure, pretend like the attorneys are your TCs and get them anything, even if you think it's nothing, get it to them and let them decide. The second thing is we had an issue with the lender. I got a call that they were to change the locks on the house due to a foreclosure. I'm like, whoa, because once it goes to the probate court, they can't touch it, right? Because they won't accept payment from somebody else if their name's not on the loan. Well, I also learned through this because when I did foreclosures before, pre-foreclosures, because I've done this 29 years, I would get permission from the seller to contact the lender. And even though, you put all your faith in the attorney and they're making their big bucks, I'll tell you, if I had had that paper and I had just followed up in July when they got it, we wouldn't have had the issue today because it wouldn't have fallen through the cracks where the probate paperwork got missed. And that's huge. But here's my question, because I need everybody's help on this. So the attorneys they're so impressed with what I've done for them and how I've handled it and how I've kept everybody informed. And, I didn't blame anybody. I was like, hey, we got to fix this. What do we do? It wasn't, you guys missed it. You're making all this. It's like, nope, got missed. We need to fix it. Right. And I'm keeping everybody informed. So obviously the attorney can go on and do a Google review, but how can I get business? Because the one attorney that I'm working with, it's a 3 main attorney. They've got like probably 10 in-house. It's a boutique lawyer firm here in Las Vegas. How can I capitalize on how much they love me besides a Google review? What can I do?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, they need to be on your pop by list. Okay, so I call this a milk route. Back when I got my license, I went to a class, and I was in the country. Do you guys remember United Country Real Estate? That if anyone's in a rural market, you might have seen that. They were a pretty big rural market franchise for a while. And I went out to Kansas City and I sat in a week-long class, and they called it a milk route, going to the local convenience stores where all the good old boys sit around and drink coffee every morning. And I don't live in a market like that anymore, but I do the same thing, or at least suggest doing the same thing with your vendors, specifically attorneys. So I want you in that attorney's office every month or two with some goodies. Take a flyer or two. Don't load them up with the assumption that they're just going to hand them out to all their clients, but a couple of flyers just in case they need them. Some baked goods, some chocolate, some things that maybe they can eat. Okay. Use that as an opportunity to just have a chit chat. I would probably offer with them to, hey, I'd love to maybe share a little bit of some of the other things that I do. Is there a way I could bring you guys lunch one day and take 5 minutes of your time to share some ideas? So essentially bring in lunch, pitch them for 5 minutes on some things that you could do. Another thing that I do is I like to grab each attorney and have an interview with them. Maybe I could interview the whole panel at the same time, so all 3. But me, I'm going to look for any opportunity, any separate opportunity to get some marketing time there. So I'll probably do it separate with the 3 of them, interview about their practice, their specialty, what they do, ask some questions on Zoom, and then use that to promote them and myself. The idea is the next time that attorney is Googled, I want my video on YouTube or a blog if it's on blog. I want it to show up above all their own organic marketing. And normally YouTube video is going to show higher than websites and things like that. So I want to make sure that I do a good job with it and promote them. And the beautiful thing is your face is obviously seen side by side with the attorney. So I'm going to start promoting their business. When it comes to asking for referrals, normally after talking to them about how I can support their business. So I start by talking about how, and then the transition to asking for business is normally, hey, you know what? I think we'd both know that I was a liar if I pretended that I didn't want to grow my business. That's the transition for me. I think we'd both know that I was a liar if I pretended that I didn't also want to grow my business. Um, do you guys ever run into situations where you have other clients that maybe have a real estate need from time to time? What are they going to say to that? No, no one ever has a real estate need. Of course, of course. Um, do you currently ever refer agents? And if you do, is there any chance maybe I could make your list of referral partners?
Okay.
So nice and low key, semi passive. Of course, what I hope is I never have, but after our experience, I'd be glad for you to be the only agent we refer to. That would be the hope.
Right.
The expectation is, yeah, either we haven't referred before, we would consider it, or we have 2 or 3 agents that we refer to, but we'd be happy to put you in the rotation. Those are the expected responses. As long as I get on the rotation, I'll build myself to number one. As long as I can get on the rotation.
Right. Right.
But if they're not referring anyone, this is an easy way to make the list as the only person on the list. So the line is, I think we'd both know I would be lying if I said I wasn't also trying to grow my business.
Right.
And then
Cool.
ask the real estate question.
Okay. So in that same example, I love this. I'm going to do everything you said. So we're going to put a tweak on it.
Mm-hmm.
The founding member just passed away from breast cancer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty rough over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point, because obviously business and their clients and the court dates still have to continue. However, they're probably not in a good space and they're overwhelmed, right? With restructuring her clients and possibly hiring a couple new attorneys to take over or step in, putting in extra hours. So what does that time frame look like for, like, should I just, because I'm sure they're inundated with food and flowers at this, she died like literally 10 days ago. So, okay. And then the holidays, right? So at what point would I be a positive milk route versus, oh my God, not more food. We can't deal with this right now.
A month is fine.
A month. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. With this, since I have a good experience with this attorneys, but is there any attorney events that you would suggest? Like, can we go into a bar association? Because I looked once and you can be like an outlying member of a bar association. Like, would you go to fundraisers or would you do volunteer stuff? Or is there anything like that to get into that niche?
Yeah. So I would really let everyone that's here know that that's a good question for those of you that have done this. I think it's very important. I have not done that. I've known a handful of agents or investors that became vendors for the Bar Association, specifically the estate planners. I think it's called the council. There's going to be a council or a subgroup inside of the Bar Association that is specifically filled with attorneys that do estate planning and trusts, which they almost never talk about probate, being a probate attorney, because probate is just a subcategory underneath of estates and trusts or trusts and wills. So I would look for that and ask about being a vendor. I've had a number of people that have done that successfully. I have not.
Is there anybody on this call that, somebody just sent me, okay, I see a number on there.
Good. Okay. Awesome.
Rashid sent me a number, so thank you.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Cool.
You're amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the hard work and the insight that you gave. That's incredible. This is good, guys, because there's a lot of folks that kind of sit on the sidelines with probate and they're like, does this really work? You guys have now heard from 3 different people who it's worked for and it is working for. So, if you're on the sidelines and you're like, hey, I don't know if there's really any space in probate, is there too much competition? No. And even if there is, can you still build a good, profitable, successful, altruistic and business that makes a difference in others' lives? Definitely. I've seen agents and or investors come into markets that from the outside looking in appeared to be semi-saturated in the probate space, and within 6 months dominating the market. Now, not running the existing agents that are getting business out of the market. That's not necessarily a thing, because this is even though you're making a big impact in the lives of people that you're working with, this is still transactional, meaning you don't know who you're going to prospect or market to until about a month after somebody dies. So up until that point, that family probably doesn't know you. So you have just as much of a opportunity to build a relationship with that person that just opened probate as the next quote unquote dominant agent does. And so all you need to do is present value first, offer value, offer help, and learn how to build rapport. And you'll have a great opportunity when these families start to do something, normally a little bit later in the process. But you guys have heard from 3 people who are doing a really good job now. So Michelle, thank you so much. If there's anything to add from you, Frankie, or David, you guys just chime in. I'm going to go to Rodger now, though.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you.
Thank you. Some of the things that I've done in the attorney's office and offered to do in the attorney's office to get attention, and usually it's well attended, is number one, go to Chick-fil-A and buy about 20 box lunches and have a discussion about the market, the real estate market that is happening right now, and show them current pending solds, the trend of what's happening in there, and they all are interested not only with what's happening with their clients, but with their particular situation. And I get questions, what's it look like in my subdivision, and so that is a high value conversation that can take. You get an hour in front of about 5 or 6 attorneys in a conference room, munching on Chick-fil-A, and you're giving them really good stuff that's relevant to them. And then I follow it up with a little bit about my probate, and when I talk about my probate with them, I obviously talk about the successful attorneys or the attorneys that I've had success with, and ask them, if you'd like to, you can talk to Brian over here at this law firm. You can talk to Mr. Bingham over at this law firm in Springdale, this one over here, and just give referrals of the attorneys that you've worked with in that. And so it's worked out really well. One of the other values that I have found that is not mentioned in what I've seen in the ATL and your presentation is, I can give you an inside track of what's happening with the family during the process of this, because they want to stay in the office, do what they've got to do. I'm in there on a day-to-day basis and updating, taking care of personal property, taking care of the car that's out there that needs to be sold, so on and so forth. And all of a sudden they go, wow, I need that. I need to know that. I need to know what the personalities are going on within the family members and stuff like that. And that's a picture of their client that they don't normally receive. High value information for them, so that they know how to approach their next meeting with the family members and have that. And I usually tell them all of that with a sworn deposition, and raise your hand. You promise not to tell them that I'm telling you, so
Right.
that
Yeah.
they all of a sudden get a background on what's happening within the family, and doing that. It's something that's worked well for me on that, as well as with my first visit to an attorney. When I do that is and I'm beginning to focus not only on my phone calling and the like, but going with the attorneys, and I'm ready to ask them, what is it that you need for a successful probate? Or also, I'm also working the seniors transition market, and I'm getting a few of those leads as well. Got my third one that I'm doing right now. The other two that I'm doing, and what they basically tell me is that, yeah, we need to know, is there a will involved? Is there something going? Is there any documentation within the family that directs what's going to happen with the property, and what's going to that? And then we get into Medicaid, Medicare stuff, and I really kind of built up a background of caregivers and care coaches for the elder transitions. So all of that is just kind of taking kind of builds up over time, and building in the dialogues that I have with the attorneys and with the families on the attorneys that they have. And I said, yes, I have experience with them on that. I'd like to take a minute to talk about something that I discovered just recently that I'm integrating. It's giving me more courage to get on the phone. And as well as I do, that I hate making phone calls. But one of the things
Yeah.
that it's really changed my approach to that is this book is Getting Past No by William Ury. And it is an excellent book that I have discovered. I don't know. Can you see that? Is it too
It gets a
blurry?
little blurry if you hold it up to your body, or maybe in front of your face. It might get good. There we go. Getting Past No, William Ury. There
Yeah,
we go.
William, there's a companion book to this that says Getting to the Yes.
Yep.
And so I strongly recommend picking it up and it is an easy read, and it's helped me position the dialogue that I'm having on the phone as well as with the attorneys, to do my prep mentally before I walk in the door or before I pick up the phone and say,
Hmm.
okay, let's take a breath and do this. My past process that I use is I've also looked up the obits for the deceased, and get an idea of what the family looked like, who am I dealing with, who's the executor of the PR for the estate, and
Hmm.
that's all I'm looking for. And how, what did they do in the past, and it pays off in the conversations that I have with the family
Hmm.
recently. And I just gave the answer the appointments today, stuff on the first batch. I got 2 leads, and it's been really pretty good quality return stuff that I've gotten out of them. But I did some of my own back end work on this, and I found out that there's a house that has been sitting there after a tornado ripped off the roof, and I noticed that it came out in a couple of months, and I missed it, and I made several calls to the executor of the estate, of the PR of the estate, and missed him. And finally, I got him, and I found out that it used to be an executive with Tyson Corporate here
Hmm.
in Springdale. And I mentioned that to the PR, and all of a sudden he said, "Yeah, he retired from Tyson." And I said, "That's a great company. He probably really contributed to the success of the company, and he's doing that." And so it's one of those things that uh,
Yeah.
getting to a yes, complimenting,
Yeah.
and finding out something like that. It's more of a high touch
Yeah.
stuff going on.
I work with a couple of people in the same office who are pursuing probate, and they take two different approaches, and both of these approaches are really good. I recommend either approach. One is high touch, one is low touch, I guess. I don't want to say that in a bad way. So one person says, "Hey, I get all my leads, and my job is to get through them all as fast as possible." The other person takes the approach that Rodger just described, and he gets his leads, he chops it down to 5 leads per day. Five, only five. And he spends 4 hours prospecting those 5 people. Now, during those 4 hours, he looks at the obituary, he looks up and he finds whatever he can find. He knows the whole story of those 5 individuals, and then he calls. And if they don't answer, he calls again. And if they don't answer, he calls again. And if they don't answer, he might text, and then he might email, and then he might find them on social media. And he is really high touch, but he knows the story. Hey, I noticed that your mom was this. I noticed that you guys were in this neighborhood. And he does what Rodger just described. Both people have a lot of success, both approaches. What I'm going to do is warn some of you that are like, yes, I finally have permission to do a lot of research before making a call. I'm going to warn some of you. Rodger does it, and Rodger sells real estate. And the guy that I just described sells a lot of real estate. But please don't let me research and find everything out about the person and their situation and their life as an excuse to hold you off of the phone. Most people that do what Rodger just described do it as an excuse to do anything other than having a conversation with a stranger. So please don't let that be your situation. But I do like that you look at that, Rodger, and he disappeared off camera. So I am gonna go to Darlene Norris, who chatted in, is going through an attorney the only way to find probate listings. You're new to this idea. Great question, and I think it's going to apply to a number of people that are on this call that maybe are considering probate. Absolutely not. We just happened to hear from several people that were building attorney relationships today. If you join any other week, you might hear from a bunch of people that buy probate leads or go to the courthouse for records and things like that. In general, there are a couple of different ways of going about building the probate business. I believe that we all want the attorney referrals. I'm pretty sure that if you polled the room, no one would say, I don't want the attorney referrals. Now, they're a little bit slower to build. A lot of times those relationships are slower to build. So what I normally recommend people do is either go to the courthouse. If your state or county offers probate records online, maybe you could, instead of going to the courthouse, you could get them online. Or if you're a little bit light on time and have a little bit of money, buy a list. So alltheleads.com is where I get my list. There are other lead sources that are out there that can curate, and sell you probate records as well. What they're doing is they're collecting and curating public records that you could get your own. You're just spending money for the convenience of not having to go into the court system and try to pull your own records and doing the skip tracing. So I buy lists just for the sake of time. You could also buy pre-probate records, which are essentially like an obituary record. It's early, probate hasn't been filed, it might not be filed. You could do that. That's a kind of an affordable way to buy lists. Just know that they haven't hit the probate rolls yet. So you're not calling to say, I noticed you were in probate. You're got to warm that call up some other way. But there's a lot of different ways. You could also go to other vendors like nursing homes. You could go to hospice. You could go to estate sale companies, attorneys, obviously. anyone else that provides a service in this space, you could build relationships with them. So my argument is that you guys probably want to start with the family themselves. So start with the heir and build a campaign and a plan and a process for prospecting and marketing to the family directly. Um, on the side, build a separate business that's creating vendor and attorney relationships. And when you get to the point where your attorneys and vendors are bringing you multiple referrals per month, now you have a choice. Do I keep both going, or do I drop the prospecting and stick with my relationships? I would argue most of you guys are going to keep both going, but you have the choice at that moment. So because those are kind of two separate approaches, we actually split the training out. So people that get probate mastery as the certification course get 15 plus. It's really turning into like 30 hours of training for how to understand probate, market, prospect, what to say, how to offer value toward the heir, toward the family. So that's probate mastery, is teaching you how to create value and build a business by going directly to the family. And then our earn course is separate. Earn stands for Earn Attorney Referrals Now. That is all about creating a business plan and value and a relationship with as many attorneys as you can get that they would then bring you their prospects. So those are two separate courses for those that maybe didn't understand what the difference was. Let me drop down to some other questions. Okay. Does anyone have systems to reach out after the initial call to a representative attorney? So Keegan, are you able to unmute yourself? I want to ask a clarifying question on that. And I got a message from Chris that I was breaking up. Did I have an internet issue for anybody else? Did I break up a little bit? No, we're good. Okay. Chris, unfortunately, I think that might have been on your end. So Keegan, are you available? You chatted in, so you said, does anyone have a system for reaching out after the initial call to a representative slash attorney? What I need to know is if you're referring to a representative and an attorney or a representative attorney. I think you're referring to and
Yeah, I'm
or an
referring
attorney.
to kind of both situations, like if we're calling attorneys and if we're calling the personal representative or executor, because often, especially with the representatives, the initial call, they're very reluctant to commit. They're more wanting to push off, and some of them are so early in the process, they don't even know where they're at.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if anyone else was implementing like a multiple touch campaign or strategy. Like, hey, I called you this day. The next day, a letter went out. Kind of a series of systems for touch points, and what success people have had with that.
So I want to put that out to the whole group. If anyone's had success with a multi-touch campaign like that, please raise your hand and chime in. I'm going to say I'm going to start with attorney and then go to the representative in the family. So the attorney, I don't do a lot of high-touch marketing. After the call, my call is about getting a meeting. And then after the meeting, I'm just going to stop by. So I'm really doing guerrilla marketing after I've met with the attorney. My job is to become their friend. And I have a number of attorneys that refer me and I refer them and we support each other that are close friends of mine because once I've gotten face to face with an attorney, I want to become their friend. So it's very much relational, not heavily marketing centered.
Mhm.
Now, on the family side with the personal representative, personally, my whole plan, my entire plan is around the person that resists me in the beginning. So it's around the person that said, I don't need anything and I don't know what I'm going to do with the house yet. That's the majority of people that I speak with on the phone. At that point, I run through my personal this year's business plan allows me to spend $61 marketing to that person over the next 6 to 8 months. $61 marketing to that person. I know a couple of things. I know that there's a house. I know that it's probably going to be sold, whether they told me it was going to be sold or not. So we don't know is my indication that it's going to be sold. So I give them the satisfaction of holding me off in the first conversation, and then I double down. Now, $61, that's a lot of money per person. How do I spend that? Well, I'm certainly not sending at $1.30 a piece. I'm not sending 48 mail pieces. So I'm sending a couple of low value mail pieces, like a letter here and a postcard there, as kind of seasoning, fill in the gaps. Most of my marketing is built around high value touches to them. Now, that's the furthest I'm necessarily going to go in this. I do have a commitment to several people that I coach and have built this to. So that wasn't necessarily given to you guys as a sales pitch. However, I have to turn it into a sales pitch. I can't just give the specific material away. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to the people that we've built their campaigns with them. So if anyone is interested in jumping into, let's say, a 12 to 16 coaching session plan, we could actually build that plan for you. And that is spoken more about in a little bit more depth in the mastery classes. But we really go deep and actually create it with people that we coach. But that's the plan is after you identify someone as being a potential seller, even if they don't know that they identified themselves as a potential seller and we haven't decided what to do with the house yet, that's might as well be a flag planted on top of their name as this person selling a house. Go all out marketing to them. I allow them the resistance that they want to give me on the first phone call because I know what certain things that they say really mean, even if they think that they're holding me off.
Without you giving up too much, since I know you want to keep that out of respect, out of curiosity, you said kind of 6 to 8 months. How many pieces would you do in that amount of time?
So I'm gonna go about 8 pieces over that amount of time.
Okay.
Yep. And you can imagine a few of them are big, like bombshell pieces. Can't be forgotten, can't be competed with. That's what I'm thinking. You're not going to compete. I want the average person in my market to not have a chance to compete with me. Now,
Okay.
can they? Absolutely. Most agents, most investors won't compete with me with what I send. All right.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you're going to follow up with phone as well, but this makes a difference. And does it get you business? The people that are doing it are getting 5, 15, 20 probate deals a month. And it's not that many people that do it. There's a lot of people that get the plan and they don't implement, but the ones that have implemented are doing a lot of business.
Okay. And you're doing it roughly every 3 to 4 weeks, one piece, it seems like.
Yeah, it's centered around a couple of big pieces, and then you just kind of sprinkle in. The point is make a big impact, and then don't let yourself be forgotten. So the smaller pieces are, hey, don't forget me pieces, and you're not saying that, but that's the plan with them. Is just stay top of mind. You should remember me. I should be way different than anyone else. So what are the smaller pieces I'm going to do to just kind of keep myself bumped up there at the top of their mind?
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Great. All right. Are you emailing your list other than mailing only? Both, Larry. Do both. Suggest as an introduction to meet the attorneys. Phone call is the best introduction when you're meeting the attorney. I tell a story. Hey, over the last couple of years, I've had a few clients that had needed to go through a probate or an estate planning process, and I need some. I've realized I need a good attorney connection that I could refer to. Do you take that kind of client? That's the best. Yes, I take that kind of client. Then your next question is, is there any shot that maybe I could stop by and see your practice one day in the next couple of weeks, take 10 or 15 minutes and meet you? I want to meet at the office. What to say if they say that they're gonna sell with a family realtor. Um, um, Normally it depends. Hey, my brother's a realtor or whatever. Hey, totally, I don't want to step on any toes there. I don't know if he's a part-time or a full-time agent. Listen, if I had a different plan that perfectly applied to an estate or probate situation, would you want to see that for a second opinion, or are you going to stick with your brother? So I'm just going to explore the possibility that maybe they look for a second opinion. It's hard to break through that family relationship in some cases. All right. Okay. Really, really, really appreciate everybody being here. Opt out language for emails. No, because I don't email people that I haven't had a conversation with. So they've given me direct permission to email them occasionally, and it's generally high quality emails. It's not a drip. If you run through like a MailChimp with a campaign, you can put an opt-in there. All right. Love it, everybody. Thank you all so much. By the way, if you are a Probate Mastery alumni or existing Probate Mastery student, meaning you have the certification course that you've taken or are going through, we are in the middle of our relaunch. So Probate Mastery is turning into what's likely going to be 30 plus hours of on-demand training, which means that right now we're doing all those classes live. We're doing another class live today in an hour. So at 4 o'clock Eastern time, if you're not a Probate Mastery student and want to come into those classes, go by Probate Mastery and we'll make sure to invite you to all the live classes. We're going to be redoing those over the next 2-ish months, maybe longer. We're not doing a class on Thursday. We were originally scheduled for a separate Probate Mastery class on Thursday. That one's canceled. I got to go meet my man, David Pinnell, who was on here a little bit ago. He's coming to North Carolina, so we're going to meet. We'll be back with a class today at 4 o'clock Eastern, and then a class next Wednesday, I believe. Check your emails. If you're Probate Mastery, check your emails for that. Again, if you're not Probate Mastery, I'd love to get you guys certified and get you into some of the training. Got a lot of people that are seeing great success. Just go to probatemastery.com if you want to jump in on that.
Bruce,
if you guys,
Bruce, one quick question, one quick thing. If
Please.
you're not Probate Mastery, you really need to be, because I've just enrolled in this program and it's totally, totally amazing. It's not just about probate, it's how to take it to the next step. And I love it. And I look forward to talking to you on Saturday, Bruce.
Great, Rebecca. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the shout out. That was not paid or planned. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So if anyone does want to jump over and get Probate Mastery, it is going to ask you if you want to take the Probate Mastery side or the Earn side. Probate Mastery is you to the family. Earn is you to attorneys. If you put them together, Earn is half price. So it's $750 for both if they're together, or $550 each if you get them individually. Hopefully I see some people. We'll be in live class here at 4 o'clock for the people that are in it. Look forward to seeing you guys here in about an hour. Thanks.